Most people think their savings account is protecting them, but what if it's actually making them poorer? Sounds crazy, right? Stay with me for 30 seconds because what I'm about to show you changes how you look at money forever.
Subscribe.
You've been doing everything right. You got the job, you're making decent money, and every month, without fail, you move some cash into your savings account. You feel responsible, disciplined, like you're finally adulting the way you're supposed to. But here's the part nobody tells you. That savings account you're so proud of, it might actually be making you poorer. Not slowly, not eventually, right now, every single month. And the crazy part is the bank is completely fine with that. My name is Adam, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money actually works. If you want to stop losing money quietly, make sure to hit subscribe and drop a like if this video opens your eyes. Okay, let's talk about what's actually happening. The illusion of safety. When most people open a savings account, they feel secure. The number goes up, the money sits there, it feels protected. And psychologically, that feeling of safety is exactly why this trap is so effective. Because your brain equates stillness with safety. Money sitting in a bank account looks safe. It's not moving. Nothing scary is happening. So your brain says, good job. But here's what your brain isn't calculating. Inflation. The silent thief. Inflation is the rate at which prices rise over time, and historically, the U.S. inflation rate has averaged around 3% per year, some years higher, some lower, but roughly 3%. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most standard savings accounts pay somewhere between 0.01% and 0.5% in interest. Some high-yield accounts push 4% to 5%, but the majority of Americans aren't using those. So let's run the actual numbers. Say you have $10,000 sitting in a basic savings account, earning 0.5% interest. After 1 year, you've earned $50. Your account now shows $10,050. Feels fine, right? But if inflation ran at 3% that year, the purchasing power of that $10,000 dropped by $300, which means in real terms, your $10,050 can now only buy what $9,750 could buy 12 months ago. You didn't lose money on paper, but you lost $250 in purchasing power, silently, without a single withdrawal. That's the trap. Your balance goes up, your wealth goes down. Why banks love this? Here's something most people never think about. Banks are not charities. When you deposit money, the bank takes that money and lends it out to other customers at 6%, 8%, 12%, sometimes more. They keep the difference. You get 0.5%. They pocket the rest. Your savings account isn't a wealth-building tool. It's a convenience service, and a very profitable one for the bank. The psychology that keeps people stuck. So why does almost everyone still do this? Why do smart, hard-working people park their money in low-yield accounts for years? Because of something psychologists call loss aversion. Humans feel the pain of losing money about twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. So the idea of putting money somewhere that fluctuates, somewhere that could temporarily drop in value, feels terrifying. The savings account feels safe because the number never goes backwards. But that feeling of safety is an illusion, because inflation is always moving forward, and a number that never goes backwards can still lose value every single year. Now, here's what I want to be clear about. Savings accounts aren't useless. They serve a real purpose. Your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, belongs in a savings account. Accessible, stable, ready. But beyond that emergency cushion, that money needs a job. Because here's the thing about inflation. If money averages losing 3% of its purchasing power per year, you need your money to earn more than 3% just to stay in place. And ideally, significantly more to actually build wealth. Historically, broad market investments like index funds tracking the S&P 500 have returned around 10% annually on average over long periods. That's not a guarantee. Markets fluctuate. Short-term drops happen, but over time, that gap between 0.5% and 10% is the difference between treading water and actually moving forward. A simple framework. Think of your money in 3 buckets. Bucket 1 is your float. 1 to 2 months of expenses. This sits in your checking account, ready to use. Bucket 2 is your emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses. This goes in a high-yield savings account, accessible but earning something real. Bucket 3 is your wealth account. Everything beyond that gets invested. Index funds, retirement accounts, long-term assets that compound over time. Most people only have Bucket 1, which means inflation is quietly draining everything they've worked for. The uncomfortable truth. Look, nobody wants to hear that doing the responsible thing was actually the wrong thing. Saving money feels virtuous, and it is, compared to spending everything. But saving money in a low-yield account for years isn't a financial strategy. It's financial procrastination wearing a responsible disguise. Because the real risk isn't losing money on paper. The real risk is watching your purchasing power shrink year after year while you feel like you're doing everything right. And the worst part? By the time most people realize it, years have already passed. The good news is the fix is genuinely simple. It doesn't require a finance degree. It doesn't require taking wild risks. It just requires understanding that money parked too long in the wrong place isn't resting. It's quietly losing the race. So if you've got money sitting in a basic savings account beyond your emergency fund, it's time to put it to work. Because your money should be growing faster than prices rise. Anything less than that isn't saving. It's just losing in slow motion. If this changed how you think about savings, hit the like button and subscribe. Because on this channel, we're not just talking about making more money. We're talking about making sure the money you already have is actually working for you.